Indians hold funerals for soldiers killed at China border, burn portraits of Xi.
Here's a summary of the article.
New Delhi, Indians burned portraits of Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday as families cremated the remains of some of the 20 soldiers killed in brutal hand-to-hand fighting with Chinese troops in a disputed mountainous border region. Scores of people shouted "Victory to Mother India" as the body of Colonel B. Santosh Babu, the senior-most Indian officer killed in the clash, was taken in a flower-bedecked military truck to his hometown of Suryapet in southern India. While in Cuttack, in eastern India, an effigy of Xi and a Chinese flag were burned. In the current situation, the China issue should not be taken lightly in many cases. There may be Chinese money invested, but I think the regular things we buy from the market, one should certainly make sure that we avoid Chinese products, Food and Consumer Affairs Minister Ram Vilas Paswan told The Economic Times. Strident nationalist Russia, which is close to both nations, said on Wednesday it hoped India and China would find mutually acceptable ways to ensure security on their border, Interfax news agency reported. Rising tensions with China, whose economy is 5 times bigger than India's and spends 3 times as much money on its military, has become Prime Minister Narendra Modi's most serious foreign policy challenge since he took power in 2014. China and India fought a brief border war in 1962 and have had occasional flare-ups when patrols have confronted each other at the poorly defined line of actual control, the de facto border.
This post received a score of 47,000, with an upvote ratio of 93%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Greater than Indians burned portraits of Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday as families cremated the remains of some of the 20 soldiers killed in brutal hand-to-hand fighting with Chinese troops in a disputed mountainous border region.
Under agreements in the 1990s, the sides have said they will not use arms near the border. But on Monday night, hundreds of soldiers fought with iron rods and clubs studded with nails for several hours. What the?
Both sides seem to have agreed that arms equals firearms. Time to equip armies with swords and crossbows.
I don't know, hand them a sword and a shield. Next thing you know, China has mastered the Testudo Formation and is on the way to conquering the entire Mediterranean.
I know it's messed up, but I really want to see India and China fight a shitty medieval war now.
If that happens, it will be World War III, not to mention there are 3 nuclear powerhouses in the vicinity of the area.
Nukes aren't arms.
Are they legs though?
They'll make sure your children have 3.
I really hope this settles down. What with all the natural disasters and the pandemic, last thing we need is such desperate tensions.
The prediction is that this won't escalate to a physical war. India is contemplating imposing strict economic sanctions on China, and Indian sellers are contemplating boycotting Chinese goods.
I think it has all possibilities to escalate since China has encroached on Indian territory and is not willing to go back.
Greater than I think it has all possibilities to escalate since China has encroached on Indian territory and is not willing to go back. It is going to need to expand economically to justify its way of governance. The US and other competitor nations like India want their sphere of influence to remain the same or grow. I honestly expect some sort of major conflict to break out in our lifetimes, barring some major collapse of the CCP. Even if China became a utopia of democracy, at best it would be like the US, which has its own host of issues with regards to the military-industrial complex, commercial expansion and laws to protect those interests.
More. I recently read some speculations by famous economists and hedge fund managers about long-term debt cycle, how at the end of those someone or something challenges established powers, usually but not always countries, etc. That's some interesting shit. Edit, since some people asked, I'm linking to few articles by Ray Dalio on this subject. Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Also, if you're interested, just Google his name and you'll find a very large number of interviews with him.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.